Welcome to this episode of RTO Insights, brought to you by APRO, the Association of Progressive Rental Organizations, the National Trade Association for the RTO industry, and sponsored by Rent Direct, a division of Nationwide, the country's largest retail buying group. Today's episode is entitled, So Many Meetings, So Little Time. There are incredible demands on your time as rental dealers. You know that without me saying it. If you look at the APRO calendar of events for RTO dealers, there are more events there than Aunt Jemima's got pancakes. Early on, there was only the APRO meeting. APRO had a convention. It had a few quarterly meetings around the country to instruct dealers about how to run the business successfully and legally. There were critics early on of APRO meetings saying, we don't want you running around telling people how to get into this business. Supporters said, we understand what you're doing, that if the barriers to entry in this business are low, you can buy a few TVs and a truck and start renting TVs out of your garage, and people did. And if they're going to be in the business, we want them to do it legally so they don't get us all into trouble. We had our first convention in 1981. We had mid-year conferences for several years after that. Actually, before the APRO meetings, there were color time meetings, but they were only open to franchisees. Dealers back in those days might go to one of the CES shows, either in Las Vegas in the summer or Chicago in the winter, to look at electronic products, but the CES show was not certainly designed for the RTO industry, and it was hard to get the vendors there to make time for RTO when they were mainly trying to sell to retailers. Shortly after that, Trib came along, a buying group specifically devoted to the RTO industry, and it had started having meetings. Then very quickly, states began to be organized to get state laws passed. Those states started having meetings. Some of those states' meetings, some of those state organizations evolved into regional meetings. Some of those very successful states, in addition to having annual state meetings, had state legislative days where rental dealers went to their state capitals to meet with their state representatives. Then along came vendor meetings, usually in exotic locales. One might even call them vendor junkets, that were all expense paid trips for their best RTO dealers. Again, a demand on their times. Marie Bay jumped into the fray in the late 80s and started having her own RTO shows. They went the way of all flesh, but that was a competition for dealers' time and money for a while. Then dealers started offering furniture. They had to figure out how to buy furniture. Furniture is a more complicated product to deal with than was electronics. So dealers started having to go to the furniture shows. High Point, Tupelo, Dallas, San Francisco, sometimes more than once during the year, to replenish furniture stocks. Then along came the buying groups, the retail buying groups, who took an interest in RTO as a way to generate new memberships and new revenues. Nationwide heavily courted RTO dealers, as did BrandSource. Those buying groups had 2 meetings a year. Dealers are tempted to go to those meetings. APRO started having legislative conferences in the 90s. At a time opposite from the convention, to correspond with the legislative calendar, and we wanted dealers to go there. So today there are all of those meetings, and I've probably forgotten a few, that are competing for your time and money. The meeting that I want to talk about and the meeting I want you to attend is the APRO annual convention held in a month in Cincinnati, May 10th through the 12th. APRO's had an annual convention every year since 1981. This will be the 36th annual convention in a row. I've been to every one. Seems like I deserve a plaque. I want you to go to rtohq.org. That's the website for APRO. If you click on the convention button, you can get all the details of the convention there. I don't really have time during this talk to go over the details with you. We have cut the timing of the convention from 3 days down to 2 because we know that your time is valuable. First day there's a general meeting to discuss the health of the industry, to elect officers, and there's a trade show that day. There's also, I think, a riverboat ride that night up and down the Ohio River. That'll be a lot of fun. Second day is devoted to education, to teach you the best practices in the industry and what's new and important in the industry. Unless you've got your head in the sand, you know that RTO faces challenging times. We don't want your stores to go the way of the independent bookstores and Blockbuster. What are you doing in the face of the new e-commerce RTO channel? What should you be doing? What does RTO look like in Great Britain? I can tell you that it looks very different from how it looks in the States. The CEO of Bright House, which is the largest chain of RTO stores in Great Britain, will be at our national convention to talk about his business model. There will be some very useful and interesting ideas from his talks and some things that you might want to think about doing in your stores. Again, there's no time for me to go into detail about all the things that are available at this meeting. We've got 2 hotels on the Ohio River right across from the city itself. They overlook the ballpark, and by the way, the Reds will be playing while we're there, for those of you baseball fans, and I am one. The Marriott is the main hotel. If you're on a budget, we've got Embassy Suites that's right next door. I would like for you to go to the APRO website today. I would like for you to register for the convention today. When talking to dealers as the convention approaches, I would occasionally ask them if I was going to be seeing them at the convention site. Las Vegas, Reno, Orlando, wherever we had those meetings. If they were hesitant, I would occasionally offer to some of the dealers that I knew well, I want you to sign up for the convention. I want you to go. When you get home, if you don't feel like you got your full money's worth, I'll give you your registration money back. I will tell you that I've made that offer scores of times. No dealer has ever called me to say, I didn't get my money's worth and I want my money back. If you go to Cincinnati, you'll get your money's worth. So I want you to go. You can't go to every meeting. There's not enough time. I urge you to make time for the APRO meeting. Your association exists to enhance and protect your industry, and we need your support. We need to see you in Cincinnati. I'm Ed Wynn III, APRO General Counsel. Remember, treat your customers like royalty. They deserve it.